So one of the things any new investor worries about is how to find money to fund their first rental property. Ray and I had the same concerns and issues when we were first starting. You either have too much money and not enough projects, or too many projects and not enough money. But as we get into more detail, you'll quickly realize how easy it is to fund a deal with no money out of your pocket. Cue sick intro. Do we have an intro?
No.
No? Oh. Well, anyway, what's up, everybody? Now, before we get into how to buy your first rental property with no money out of pocket, let's talk about the four main components of buying a rental property. Number one, finding the property. Number two, funding the property. Number three, renting the property. And number four, managing the property. Now, out of the four, in my opinion, finding the property is the most difficult piece of the entire puzzle. The saying, you make your money when you buy the property, is absolutely true. And you really want to pay attention to underwriting the deal, making sure you're running your numbers correctly when you're looking for a rental property, as that's going to determine everything from buying it to either doing any renovations that you need to do, and then ultimately potentially refinancing it down the line. So you want to pay close attention to running the numbers. So we actually filmed a video on how to run the numbers on a rental property, and I'll link that above. So there are actually a ton of ways that you can go about finding a rental property to buy. You can network with other investors, other real estate agents at networking events, or your local real estate investment groups. You can go on to biggerpockets.com and look for people that are doing work or wholesalers that are working in your local market. You can go on to Facebook groups and post on there. There are a ton of options. You can market directly to sellers. And we actually have another video that I'll link to above where we go into all of the lead generation tools that you could be doing to market to sellers to find awesome rental properties to buy. So before we move forward, this is a great opportunity to say, if you're enjoying the content, please like, subscribe, hit that bell button notification below to be notified of future content when it comes out. So you found an awesome deal on your first rental property. Now, how do you fund it? Most lenders these days are looking for between 20 and 25% down on an investment property. There's other loan options out there that you can probably do less than 20 or 25%, but the majority of investment loans or commercial rental loans these days are between 20 and 25%. If you're new to investing or you don't have great credit and you're looking to buy your first rental property, you might not qualify for a traditional loan through a regular bank or lender. So you might have to go to a private lender, which can also be referred to as a hard money lender. The rates are typically higher for a hard money lender or a private lender than that of a traditional bank, but they don't have as stringent underwriting requirements or credit requirements, so it's a lot easier to qualify for a loan. If you do end up using a private or hard money lender, the goal should be to refinance out of that loan into a traditional loan in probably 2 years or less once the property is stabilized, cash flowing, and you have a tenant in there for at least a year. That way you reduce your holding costs and increase your cash flow. So to come up with the down payment or any other closing costs you might need, this is the point where you want to fund the deal using other people's money, commonly referred to as OPM, not to be confused with OPP. You know what I'm talking about, right? No? Naughty by Nature? You down with OPP? Yeah, you know me. No? Oh man, I'm old. So the next question is where do you find these people to invest in your property? Or where do you find these people to give you the money to close on your rental property? A few places I would start are, again, local networking events in your market. There are investors that go to events looking to invest their money, or they might not want to be involved in the day-to-day management of a rental property. So they're looking to invest their money in property or real estate, but they don't want to have the hassle of managing it, dealing with tenants, etc. So it might be a great opportunity for them to make some passive income by investing in your deal. Posting on local Facebook groups as well as biggerpockets.com are other ways to find potential investors to invest in your properties. It's pretty much the same list that I mentioned earlier, when you're looking to find deals, it's the same way when you're looking to fund deals. The most important thing is to start networking, start talking to people, tell them what you're doing, tell them you're looking to build a portfolio of rental property, tell them that you're looking to bring on investors, and you'll be surprised at how much money is actually out there. As far as what you should be offering your investors is from a return standpoint, there are some things that you should probably consider. The property itself is obviously a huge part of how much you can give up or how much cash flow you want to give up to a potential investor. If the property is cash flowing really well, you might be able to give up a little bit more of that. If it's not cash flowing as much, you might want to change your returns that you're looking to give to your investors. How much the investor is actually investing. So what we typically do is when we're looking to raise capital, the more you invest, the better your return. So if someone comes in and is going to fund the entire ask of what you're looking to raise from a capital standpoint, then you're probably going to want to incentivize them with a bigger return. Your track record and experience also has a huge impact into how much you're potentially going to give to your investors. When you're first starting out, you might have to sacrifice a little bit more of the cash flow or a little bit more of the equity in order to attract investors to invest in your projects. But as you gain more experience, as you build your portfolio, as you buy more rentals, you'll be able to ask for less and ultimately reduce your overall holding costs. So you can offer your investors either both debt or equity or a combination of both. And I actually have a video that goes into the detail on what each of those are, as well as how to calculate the total amount of money that you're actually going to need to raise when buying a property. So I'll link that video above. I gotta get out of here, it's freezing out, so I'm gonna head back to the office. We'll cover the last 2 tips.
All right, so you either bought a property that needs a bunch of work, so you're gonna be doing some renovations to it, or you bought a rental property that's turnkey, so it's time to get it rented. To post your property to rent, you're either gonna do it yourself or you're gonna hire a real estate agent to do it for you. Now, doing it yourself, you could post it on sites like Facebook, Craigslist, Zillow, etc. You can do all the showings, you can walk prospective tenants through the property, you can handle doing background checks or credit checks or your due diligence on that particular tenant. And then ultimately you can write up the lease between yourself and the tenant. Or you can pay a real estate agent to do all of that for you. They can post it on your local MLS. They can take some nice pictures or have pictures taken of the unit. They can handle all the showings, they can handle all the background checks, credit checks, and then they can put the lease together and get it executed between yourself and the tenant. Now, a real estate agent or a rental agent typically charges 1 month's rent as a fee. Now, depending on the market, if it's a hot market, some markets allow the tenant to pay the fee, or there might be a half fee, you pay half, the tenant pays half, or you as the landlord will pay the entire fee. So once you get a qualified tenant and they move in, it's time to move on to that 4th and final stage of the buying process, which is management. There are 2 ways you can manage your property. You can do it yourself, or you can hire a property management team or person to manage it for you. The benefits to a property manager are that they collect the rent for you, they handle any calls or issues the tenant may have, they handle coordinating with contractors or subcontractors or maintenance folks to get things fixed that may break during the tenancy, and they coordinate all of that on your behalf. On average, you're probably gonna pay a property manager between 8 and 10% of the gross monthly rent, depending on your market, depending on the property, depending on how many units are in the building, etc. That 8 to 10% does not account for the cost of repairing any issues or bringing in any subcontractors or contractors to repair leaky toilets, replace chirping smoke detectors, replace a stove or a microwave, etc. that's broken. So you got to account for all of that when you're underwriting your deal. You got to account for your CapEx or your regular maintenance as part of your overall monthly expenses. In addition, you want to make sure that when you're underwriting the deal, if you do plan on hiring a property manager, you're building that 8 to 10% in as well as part of your underwriting. Personally, I would say that when you're first starting out and you buy your first rental property, you probably want to manage it yourself, or at least the first few properties that you buy. By doing this, you get a sense of what it takes to manage the property, how long it takes to repair certain things, screening calls, taking calls from your tenants, dealing with all the maintenance and issues. And while it might be a little bit more work up front, when you do ultimately hire your property manager, you know what that process is. You know how long things are supposed to take. You know what the issues may or may not be throughout a given month or time of the year. So I feel that if you do it yourself, it will help you manage your property manager later on down the line. So let's recap. There are 4 main pieces when you're buying your first rental property. You got to find the property, you got to fund the property, you got to renovate or stabilize or rent the property, and then you got to manage the property. The hardest part, in my opinion, is finding the property and making sure the numbers make sense. Like I said earlier, the underwriting portion of the deal is the most important. So when it comes to funding the deal, you shouldn't be afraid of not being able to find money to fund the property or project or down payment if you don't necessarily have the money. If you find a good deal, there are plenty of ways and there are plenty of people that are looking to lend or looking to invest in real estate without the day-to-day hands-on. And I feel that when you find a good opportunity, there's plenty of money out there. Trust me. So what are you waiting for? Go out there, find your first deal, and we'll see you on the next video.